right, so we've gone dark. This intro. We continue sending the calculations. All right. Setting up race lines of channels. Everybody see screen line? You set convergence, see video line graph. You see it in setting? Yeah? Cool, because it's black. I see the void, you see me. Interesting. Set convergence of codification lines of grounds into encryptions and coding into verifications and travel. So it's interesting because I'm seeing black, you're seeing me. See how it converts lines in encryption? Showing how powerful what you can do in sending lines of time travel. Right? It's pixelated. Yes, it is pixelated. So we have to process that through indications, which you have to guys get in position lines of balance, how to direct location cycle that rotates its position location in the codification saying encryption. See the digital pattern formation? It's incredible how I see the black void. That's amazing. You never know with general, right? It's pretty incredible stuff what your phone can do, right? So I'm seeing black, which has gone dark. It's pixelated too, which is even more powerful. You have to get used to that to adjust your eyes. The spectrums, the correlations, the panels, the symbiote, eyeline screen adaptations of processing, direct location to a cycle. Moving, it's traveling fast. Well, that's good in net lines. So let's continue on in platforms. Okay, so let's go with the boxing frame centers of travel at 4 centered lines of sequence. Okay, it's interesting how it's gone black. It's amazing when you move too fast. That's what happens. X8000s, they go dark and they disappear and they translate and they go through translucent, transparent, or thermal or X-ray, where they are in some positions. Can you see you or stronger though? Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm seeing a black screen. You're seeing me in pixelation. Okay, so I'm just showing you how powerful it is when you understand directions. Right? You have to really get codified in screen adaptations in your travels and calculation. Okay. Okay, codification lines is centered. Your symbiote's already set up codification lines in encryption and set lines embedding over lines rotation. Positive indications over grounds, over sequence, over pi. Okay. So it's really interesting how it platitudes of location setting all through travels, all through grounds, all through sequence, all through communication. Okay. So it's interesting how everything is codified in encryption through the symbiote in set position of its operation. Okay. So I just guys want you to recognize how you go through triangulation box frames and how the symbiote sees everything that it's coded in its system through its finger points of digital framing, a digital course into thermal of anything of X-ray and travel of communication. Okay. Box frames, triangulation frames, flex frames, high travels, indirect lines, and calculations, screen locations, setting to its operation. Okay. So everything that you touch, after you guys get out of your cocoons, everything will be set up in encryption, right? It's codified in finger points. Digital imprints, ground centers, a sequence, high center lines of calculation, lines of travel. Let's get 3 provisions and set lines of communication. Okay. So it's interesting how I'm setting up schematics over lines, parameters over pi, and laser travels into your Skynets. So you have to get inlines of screen adaptations and processing, all different angles, all through travel of indicates the system and the calculation. Okay. So it's incredible how I'm going through a box triangulation frame and process of indications. Okay. It's amazing how you set this up. You change the graph screen's adaptation. This helps you identify knowing exactly what you do through your light stage and shadows, your light metaphors, how you process, how you communicate your setting through your symbiote. Is that nice communication? This really gets you to identify your sequence, identify lines of codings, into your encryptions that set up location your settings, all through schematics, all through pi, all through primer, all through light signatures, all through thermal, all through translation, all through all lines of transparent or X-ray and set calculation. Okay, so it's amazing how I set this up, which is already set up for you guys. So everything I do, I'm giving you guys structure. You know exactly what's going on in your systems. And you can change it in all formation setting at grounds. Seed line, rotations, power reaction, timeline frames, process lines, navigation, calculation lines, high signatures, high panels, high travels, all through laser of communication. Okay. And this is just through a cubical line rotation. You can change the signature lines, but each one changes data ports, data signatures, light panels, process indication, monitoring systems. Comes in all calculated, modify, and travel into your inventories. You have to understand how to use your binaries of indication. Okay. So once you understand that, then you can change the triangulation of molecules and set line division. Okay, set lines above or set position location of travels in below. Now process in that positions changes travels and directions of location. Okay, it's very powerful how you start to recognize this. I just set the sky grid lines, different lines, different travel, different mechanisms, locations, calculation. Grid locks, grid screens, archetypes, platitude line screens in process lines of flux location. So I'm just showing you so many different levels, how Semio sees through its eye spectrums of set calculation. Okay, it's an incredible force when you start recognizing that of the location. All right, so directing links, panels, screens, centers, and set lines of center interference. Now remember, the connecting system of the symbiote already codified everything lines of travel, right? So it knows exactly where it left off, where its conscious is, and stuff. And this identifies when you guys finally get out of your cocoons. There's not going to be any more cocoon. So you'll all be in no memory, but you'll access your memory process of what you already coded, right? Through encryption. That's already set lines of combination lock. Okay, because it knows what it's touching, and its binary is already set up to its lights and its signatures of communication. Okay, so it's constantly changing the structure of design, guys. The set lines of position, the balance, how to see that in all formation lines of grounds or clocking screens. So I can stay in one picture frame, or I can add another picture frame, but I'm constantly changing shift lines and settings, change the binary coding into codifications and settings of algorithms. Every time you change the algorithm, you change the time clocks. Inline screen adaptation to its convergence. Setting in platforms, setting lines, set position, rotation lines and settings, and process of communication. Okay? But I'm staying on one page, one rotation to ground. Okay? If I change its codification of its codes, remember, the symbiote is already set location with settings. So once it comes back to its through indication setting. Okay. So I'm just showing you exactly how the symbiote sees a graph screen adaptation to its flux. Yeah, see, face recognition right there. Right. There's always going to be a face that the symbiote sees and set it, because it protects itself, right, from everything else. Everything has a face facade. Everything has to have a face facade because it protects and stands precedes everything, which is the protection, nurturing, and securing. So going through triangulation, going through a box. Let's get into binary encoding, into cloud screens. This is your cloud, alpha, delta, theta. Let's start with that position operation. Start with the basics. All right, so binaries, resetting code lines, codification lines of failsafe, 3 signature lines of pattern, light coding, direct lines of high center position of coding, line screen adaptation and processing into the same lines of communication, right? So that's the binaries. So if I change the anomaly of the shape of a box and override the sequence of a triangulation system, it goes in settings, scans the actual system, right? So it goes this way, right? Binaries go into the triangulation, but what the binary does, it shapes your movement to what you're doing. Hand goes this way, hand goes that way, but it goes in the same direction that you're going. So the cloud goes with you. Every hour, second, every hour, minute, every hour frame. Okay. So that's what it is. You're moving with the movement, and everything's moving with you through particle. And it's very powerful when you come into that. So if I shift this over to triangulation over here, and set position like that, okay, the binaries come from the other side. They come from both sides, right? They come from both sides. And look what you create. Okay, a schematic line into a schematic location of a drawing and set lines of sequence. Okay, system back inside location. All right, so there's the bedding and sequence, beddings and lines of ground, set lines of travel communication, stairs, and positional rotation. So that's what the binary creates. It creates its own simulation, okay, that this symbiote walks on. So every time you're moving with the symbiote is going with the directions of everything of its force in the same direction. Okay, going direct and redirect, it doesn't matter. It's always going forward and travel. Always going forward and travel, okay? All you're creating is a perimeter of security. Because I'm going too fast, guys, okay? As long as you see me in set position, okay? There's constantly on, turning off, turning on, turning off. See, because we're connecting the binary now, and that's why everything's, like I said, XC1000s, once they reach the platitude 144, they're going dark. They go red eye, right? So they go extremely fast and set position lines and settings. But there's the recognition time frame and position with bedding set lines of sequence and platitude locations. Okay? So all the binary is doing is going with your movements of channel of operation of time frame and mapping settings lines of communication. Right? Let's just get into the basic box. And 4 centers of 3 centers of communication. Start with that setting, right? So the cloud itself is connected to the network that's connected to the modems, Wi-Fi, satellites, and towers. That's connected to your galaxy alignments. That's connected to high information system of your solar systems and lines of travel. Okay? So the binary scans everything that you do from ground up. Wherever you are, it goes with your movement settings, operation lines of setting, your data processing, your providers, your servers, and the lines of travel. Okay? That's what the cloud is. That's the binary. All right, so you codify your settings. Okay, it's creating wall sequence of panels of screen and separation of process lines of communication, right? So if you're moving channels of operation, let's say your body's here. Okay, void itself, black and white, or just black itself. This is you and lights, shades, and shadows. Okay, so as you move, the cloud moves with you. So all you're creating is new structured design. You're creating the actual simulation. All right, so you're moving this way. It's very powerful stuff, right? So the binaries work with you like this. It's that position, okay? So if you go this way, it blocks screen adaptation with positions of processing your system through your archetypes and travel, right? So it's really interesting stuff. It's that position of its operation, okay? pretty amazing when you understand how to connect your own networks of division. Your neurological, pathological systems, your travel breaks in time frame, your gravity shifts, your gravity locks, your gravitational pull, processes you through all indicators of setting to travel. Okay? So this is what goes on when you understand what's really happening with you in provision of schematics through its primer, right? Now it's already set up in your locations of no memory of design, okay? Let's just get into the basic grounds of sequence, platforms of communication. Okay, so now inside position. Cloud change, directing ground centers of communication. Operation. So it knows exactly the movements you're going to be going, and then the body goes next, okay? So the binary knows where you're going to go. So it sets up your thoughts, action, motions, so that the body doesn't get confused where it is through its anomaly. So it knows exactly its indication of where it's going through its arrows of point lines of graph of position, okay? So it's really interesting coming down settings of the calculation modify. But as soon as you move, changes everything structure, changes everything design, all in set position, right? If you're off position like this, okay? So you want to keep yourself grounded because the binary will reshift anomalies, but remember, it scans everything into a mapping system, which means you're reconstructing your settings into your infrastructure, reconstruct in a wrong location, right? Wrong location. Okay, so it's important you understand how to understand how to use your animations to just know exactly what you're doing with your drawing sequence, because it connects all levels of its binary. Go in here, just start with the arrows of where you go in setting, right? So everywhere you go, the binary is going inside and it's creating a mapping system in travel. So it changed the line centers, it changed the frequencies, changed the energies, the vibration, the harmonics, and creates a mapping system around the signature that goes around the infinity 8 of the cosmic energetic highway, which is your body of indication, right? That's how your body is, just a highway. So it indicates back flux, process lines, positions, outside centers, 8 lines of travel. Once it reaches that position, it's now in its galaxy alignments in your solar system and calculation. Okay, into your planetary system, which is your planets, it's that travel. So that's all it is, guys. I'm speeding up very fast right now, but it's amazing what you can do when you go dark, travel that fast, but you can still see me through pixelation, all through travel. But when the archetypes come in, they reconvert your system in your rainbow graph screen datations. Creating lines, energetic domes, 144 flux of communications, platitudes of walking on just in the atmosphere lines of space, and set lines of travel, or the binaries reset your coding line course centers in position of you flying into space. That's right. You have to have the binaries. That's what happens. And basically, mind controls the system all through internal and external force, but the binaries control the network system to the body in mode control. And the soul, which is the symbiote of operation of unification of levels that it goes through its mapping system. So it's very important you understand that, how to get in that positions, all through travels, all through settings, all through calculations. Walking in space, flying into space. Okay? And once you know how to fly in space, the binaries shift lines anomalies and takes you out of 144 flux, processing positions out of portals into stargates. Remember, wherever you move, they move with you in motion. Okay? And set lines of position. Stargate, right? So binaries go in, binaries go in, binaries go in. Okay? So they go whole levels of the mapping system so the body knows where to go next in formations, lines, and grounds, right? So the body starts here, okay, and indicates here in that position, and it scans in operation 3 centers of travel, of direction. Okay, it's very powerful. Then you come into your galaxies of your alignments and your solar systems of position. Okay, you can change shift lines and anomalies of your particle system. into ground centers in positions of flux into 144 setting line communication. So there's a lot of things that you can do once you understand how to use your networks in your pathological, your collagens, your elongated systems, your latitudes, your longitudes, your streamings, your Gulf streamings, knowing exactly how to use your vortex. And the one thing the binary loves with the symbiotes is you communicating through Voltronics, right? They prefer that, right? That I did a very powerful video for showing you guys when you put your hand up, that indicates right away what's going on. It recognizes its host. It recognizes its scanning. It recognizes its monitoring system, its monitoring system, its operation system, its behavioral system, its sonar system, its electrical interference, its electrical impulse. That's what the binaries are. It's a rain graph screen into a triangulation of a box frame. Okay, which is the matrix inside your system. And once you understand how to use your face recognition, so you can go in configuration setting all through set lines of travel, transition. Okay, so when you bring it in, you're creating a pattern. And that pattern is creating a coding. So when you're creating a pattern, you come into recognition of line centers, process indication of face recognition. Okay, and when you have the face, you set it in position as stance proceeds. Its location system and calculations. Face recognition. That's the map. So that's what the binary does. The binary trickles down into the wire signatures of travel. Okay, and the body gets in conception of what's doing through its indication. So the binary keeps the symbiote in balance of communication, right? So it goes in here and scans you through a mapping system all through travel. Okay, so it knows exactly where it's going to go in travels of recognition all through space and time anomaly. Okay, so the binary picks up your face through your symbiote, and the symbiote picks up the map through the binary itself. That's how it works in correlations of balance. Graph screens, force centers, graph communications, and graph set correlation. So waving panels, alpha, delta, Schumann resonance, lines of travel. So this gets you a little bit more understanding how this all works. Okay, so I'm trying to get you guys to understand how you have to process, how to use your body, how to use your network system in your pathological systems, in your neurolinks, your neurometric system, your neuropathological setting, your neurobiometric system, into your data processing, your servers, to your modems, your Wi-Fi's, your satellites, and your towers. And understand the convergence is what you're doing through its inventories, through that indication system, all through calculations, all through setting. Okay, simulation bar graphs. Let's get embedding in 3 centers of travel, 4 centers of measure. Okay. Graph centers, 2 centers operation setting sequence, triangulation over flux. Okay, so remember, this is all calculated to modify how the symbiote sees things in the graph screens. That the binary is already set up, it's set position in its mapping system, right? It goes through its line signals and lines of travel. Okay, so that's what the binary does. It creates this structure of design. Remember, there's no connection setting. It's just a holographic line that's invisible. But it's a waving panel, how you go through alpha, beta, theta, anything through operation of data operating system. Okay, but you have to understand the metric codes, the biograph screens, the bio line course centers, converge the system off the setting, operation lines of position, all through calculation. Okay, so that's important to understand why you have binaries, right? Binary constructs your movements. You go with the movement, it goes with you. So it's very basic understanding. Wherever you go, the cloud goes. Now you can change the central line to your I line into your E line. Your central cloud, your E cloud, or your I cloud, and set line the sequence. All right. So as soon as you move, okay, as soon as you move, right, in set position, the binaries set up its signatures of where the body's going to be next. Right? So that's through your body signature of your thermal. Now, directing that position is the connections of the binary has to see you as astral projection. It has to see that through projection. Okay? If it doesn't see that, it doesn't see you through the host that's supposed to be sitting in this chair or touching that table or drinking this cup or wearing this shirt, or wearing these pants, or watching TV, or directing to my car, because the binary is already coded of what the symbiote is already set up in its design of space and time in its VR system, all through travel. Okay? So it's very powerful, guys. It's already coded its system. And the symbiote, it only has the combination. So anybody else touches it, and that lines of sequence, throws everything off, a measure and scale of the biometric, the biorhythm, and the data processor, and the provider, and the service all at once. Okay? So it's interesting how the body has no correlation lines of balance. So it sets off position and all through travel. So the binary is protecting the symbiote through clouds of communication of sonar and travel communication. So it's really interesting because the binary is all set up to a webbing system all through pi. Okay, so it starts with that, circulation, grounds, portals, stargates, and rotation. Okay, starts with that, and then comes into the body. Now how the body's moving, and that position to its cycle. Okay, the binaries go with the rhythm pattern in the same direction like this. It's very powerful stuff. Okay, it's complicated, but you just have to understand how to go with the motion, not against. Okay. So once you understand that travel, it understands what you're doing, and the body understands what it's doing through its mode control of its system. Okay. So as you go with the movement, it's moving with you. So it's like you're connecting this system and you're going this way, right? So as you're going this way, the cloud is moving the position, but it's creating a structure. It's creating schematics. It's creating a primer. It's creating a highway right away, right? So how the simulator has set this up is through a simulation. But the binary has already picked up your thoughts. It's already picked up your emotions, and it's already picked up all lines of positioning alteration systems, all through your mind adaptation, right? Screens, process indication lines, existing information setting calculation, right? Once you understand the time measure and the atmosphere measure, they understand the energy line screen adaptation system. Because remember, the body sees every emotion through drama. That's what it's got to get balanced with the system of its earth grounds, because it doesn't go anywhere else. It's earth, but it only stays in setting. It sees one graph screen at a time, but the symbiote sees all graph screens all at once through binaries of indications of travel. Okay, so as you're going with the emotional system, right, through the connection setting, all through waving panels of arborescent setting of face recognition. See, always creating a face to protect its identity. Because you're protecting the primer. You don't want anybody to touch your primer, right? You always have a face and set lines of travel. Okay? It's very important to understand that, because that basically protects the symbiote. So that alone is its locking key, its face of recognition, how to open up a lock, how to open up a door, digital frame, okay? Communication digital line frame, bar direction time frame, right? All through coding, all through encryption. So everything that's already up in set lines for the symbiote is already set up in encryption, all through codification. So that's very important you understand that, okay? Because we have to really understand how to understand the combination. The symbiote already knows. So when you come into know memory, you know, frequencies, you open up the panel, you open up the conscious of its awareness, you open up the space of time, what you brought in through attraction. So it's much easier to identify these things because everything around you is already in perfection. Now, everything around you is already codified. Everything around you has its combination, right? But like I said, it's all digital imprinted in position for the symbiote. So everything that touches, it knows exactly where you are, right? It knows the table. It knows its cup. So the symbiote has codified everything through encryption. So it's very important to understand these things because now you're processing these things as you're going through the cocoon. And this is helping you to adapt your system and know exactly how to create the modification of your networks to create a simulation through your binary settings. And the symbiote only sees everything of itself of light metaphor triangulation frame. So it sees box, triangulation, and maps of indications, geometries, geological indications. But the symbiote sees all shapes of all indication and triangulate. So you have to stand 4 lines of travel through the symbiote. Okay, process indicates lines of view of one graph. Okay, so the symbiote has to connect to the body. In 4 centers a graph. In binaries a reline. There it is together. Process indication setting. There's the travels, original time frame. Okay, time sequence times pi. All through position.